Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. In our top story, if you didn't go to the election offices to vote early yet, you've missed your chance. Early voting ended on Monday, and many residents took advantage of not having to join the big voting crowd in November. Election officials spoke to News 2 about the large turnout and why they're not extending the early voting period according to a new law. News 2's April Knight has more.
Voters flocked to election offices on Monday. It's the last day of early voting for this election cycle, and according to election officials, turnout so far has been high.
As of yesterday's report, in the St. Croix district, we had 1,362, 1,362. St. Thomas, we had 2,374, and on St. John, we had 119. We had a total of 3,855 persons that have voted early.
According to election supervisor Carolyn Fox, it could be because in the last election cycle, there were some problems that prevented the maximum turnout for early voting.
St. Croix was cancelled because of a court decision. St. John started late.
The early voting polls closed Monday evening. The election system will then gear up for the main event, the actual election day on November 8th. But at least one person thinks that early voting should not yet be over. Election board member candidate Harriet Mercer, in a press release on Tuesday, stated that election early voting should be finished the third day before the actual election. That brings it to November 5th. Mercer is referring to recently passed legislation that, according to Fox, is hard to execute. Time is definitely a factor in the early voting period being cut short.
3 days before an election is not when the supervisor gets an election ready. 3 days before an election, we need to be sitting and ready. I restricted it to 10 days, which is affordable for us, and again, still giving us a timeline to meet our requirement.
Fox said they're already in talks with the Senate to possibly amend the new law.
I already spoke to Senator Gittins, and they're going to need to amend the law because they need to amend it so we can implement it fully.
Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
Grove Place Action Committee members say this year's commemoration of the D. Hamilton Jackson Day, or Liberty Day, is on schedule. The committee organizes annual events for the celebration, which includes a traditional meal of roast beef, stuffing, bread and gravy, or bull and bread, as it's called. Speakers are lined up. Also, Department of Planning and Natural Resources, they're also celebrating November as David Hamilton Jackson Month. Bill number 31-01230, now Act number 7771, was sponsored by Senator Myron D. Jackson, Secretary and Chair of the Committee on Culture, Historic Preservation, Youth and Recreation. D. Hamilton Jackson is probably best known for securing concessions from Denmark in 1915 to establish a free press in the Danish West Indies. For the past 67 years, we have celebrated territory-wide November 1st as Liberty Day or Freedom of the Press Day. We also call it Bull and Bread Day. As the intrepid editor of the Herald, the first free press newspaper in the Danish West Indies, D. Hamilton Jackson used his publications and his own skills to advocate and organize actively for labor unions and to establish and protect the rights of workers. The Division of Libraries, Archives, and Museums has an online tribute. An exhibit is also on display at the Florence Williams Public Library on St. Croix. St. Croix is now fully powered by propane. That's according to the Water and Power Authority, which made that announcement last week. According to WAPA's CEO, Julia Reimer, WAPA has completed the commissioning for two of three generating units on St. Croix, and the Island District has been completely powered by propane for 2 to 3 weeks now. Reimer said the work is continuing on a third generating unit, which has been converted to burn 3 fuel types: propane, oil, and natural gas. They're also making steady progress in introducing propane to the St. Thomas plant. Reimer said the commissioning of 2 converted generators is expected to begin by the end of this month. They're expecting St. Thomas, St. John, and Water Island to be powered by propane in December. In other WAPA news, the WAPA Governing Board also approved a contract on Thursday for brokerage services by IFS Securities. That company will seek out the design, installation, and financing of lighting and solar project for WAPA. That lighting project consists of the retrofitting and installation of smart lighting solutions to more than 15,700 street lights. Governor Kenneth Mapp has called the legislature into special session at 2 p.m. on Thursday, November 3rd. Urgent action, he said, is required if the government's operations are to be supported in November and beyond. Governor Mapp is asking the Senate to approve an amended version of Bill number 31-0447 after vetoing the measure as approved in its original form. The new version of the bill provides a mechanism for acquiring working capital through the issuance of bonds, which he says require statutory liens as security for lenders. Without the liens, the government's bond ratings may be lowered, which would drive the cost of borrowing higher. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Governor Oswald Potter is out of the territory. He departed on Sunday and will return on Sunday, November 6th. In accordance with the revised Organic Act of 1954 as amended, Senate President Neville James is serving as acting Lieutenant Governor. Meanwhile, in his role as chairman of the Virgin Islands Banking Board, Potter and the board members voted unanimously on Thursday to increase from $3 to $3.50 the maximum fee that can be charged at non-bank ATMs licensed by the board in the territory. The increased maximum non-bank ATM fee is not mandatory, meaning that the operator can charge less than $3.50. This new fee is the new maximum fee that a non-bank ATM operator can charge a consumer, and the fee charged cannot exceed $3.50 per transaction. The board requested from the Division of Banking and Insurance a non-bank ATM revenue and cost per transaction analysis of each licensed operator. Another scam is being reported by the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs, and hotel guests are the ones being targeted. DLCA's Commissioner Devin Carrington had first-hand experience of the scam. He shared details of the incident as well as tips for consumers. NEWS2's April Knight has more.
DLCA Commissioner Devin Carrington himself recently became a target of a new scam.
Yeah, this is the second time, in fact, and it's laughable that it's so coincidental that they reached the person who in charge of the regulatory authority that is supposed to be protecting consumers. So.
According to Carrington, who's been updating the community on scams, he was staying at a local hotel when he got a call in the early morning hours, supposedly from that hotel's management.
They were saying that they're from the audit team and the audit needed to be done like 2 a.m., but I assumed that it was to provide credit card information.
Carrington said the timing of the call might be part of the scammer's modus. Unsuspecting victims might just want to transact over the phone instead of going to the front desk in the middle of the night. But Carrington did just that.
A night shift guard told me that he had heard other customers speak about the same situation on a few occasions, so it obviously had happened before.
In a world of evolving scams and schemes, Carrington said it is vital to remember, do not give out your financial information so easily.
Here's the point. Don't make any hasty decisions. Never disclose without verification any type of financial or personal information.
According to Carrington, they have not reached out to individual hotels, but they did inform the Department of Tourism so it can spread the word.
I've spoken to the tourism commissioner on this. She's been sent information as to what transpired, and she has assured me that she's going to be in communication directly with the hotels.
Reporting for NEWS2, I'm April Knight.
The DLCA urges consumers to report scams like this by calling 340-713-3522 on St. Croix and call 340-714-3522 on St. Thomas. On Saturday, October 29th at approximately 8:24 p.m., officers from the Marshal Command in Christiansted, they were dispatched to a robbery in downtown Christiansted. Here's more from the VIPD.
Well, officers made contact with the victim, who stated that he was walking on Strand Street in the vicinity of Crucian Goal when he was approached by a black male individual who pointed a gun to his face. The victim also stated that a second black male individual came from behind and also pointed a gun at him and robbed him of his money as they both took off running. There were no injury in this incident. This matter is actively being investigated by the Criminal Investigations Bureau. If you know of any crime in your area, please continue to call the Criminal Investigations Bureau at 340-779 340-778-2211 on St. Croix, 340-774-2211 in St. Thomas. You can call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS, or you can call 911.
Hillary Clinton's email scandal is back in the headlines in the home stretch to the election. FBI Director James Comey told Congress on Friday that the Bureau has located another batch of emails that may pertain to the investigation of Clinton's private server. And now, some Democrats are saying that disclosure may have broken the law. Scott McLean has this report from Washington.
As Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server is back in the spotlight, so too is FBI Director James Comey.
It's an opinion that had no business being stated. He's a policeman. He's not supposed to comment on the conduct of anybody.
The FBI director today is keeping a commitment he made back several months ago that he would inform the Congress if he continued the investigation.
On Friday, Comey told Congress Bureau investigators are looking at a new batch of emails that may pertain to the Clinton private server investigation. Those emails were found on a computer belonging to Anthony Weiner, the estranged husband of top Clinton aide Huma Abedin. Weiner is currently under investigation for allegedly sexting a minor. The news is breathing new life into Donald Trump's campaign.
And I have to give the FBI credit. That was so bad what happened originally, and it took guts for Director Comey to make the move that he made.
But others question the move, including two former U.S. Attorneys General, Alberto Gonzales.
And I really worry that in this particular instance, the FBI director has made an error in judgment in terms of releasing this kind of letter.
And Eric Holder, who called Comey's disclosure a, quote, stunning breach of protocol. Top Democratic Senator Harry Reid went even further, saying Comey may have violated a law barring federal employees from using their job to influence an election. And with polls showing a tight race, this October surprise could have a big impact. In Washington, I'm Scott McLean.
Keeping our eye on the economy, let's take a look at the stock market watch at the New York Stock Exchange. According to the numbers there, we can see everything down. The Dow, Nasdaq, S&P down. Coming up on News 2, although significantly less prevalent in men, breast cancer in men is not unheard of. Details as our breast cancer awareness continues. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We continue our breast cancer awareness. Although significantly less prevalent in men, breast cancer in men is not unheard of. Breast cancer is about 100 times less common among men than among women. For men, the lifetime risk of getting breast cancer is about 1 in 1,000. The number of breast cancer cases in men relative to the population has been fairly stable over the last 30 years, according to the experts.
In terms of cases of male breast cancer, I can think off the top of my head probably of 2 patients so far, since I've been practicing here for the last 10 years. Men are more likely to be aware of their breast cancer because they have small breasts, so they notice any changes, any lumps, any abnormalities. It is usually quite treatable. We remove the breast, we do a mastectomy, and the man usually can take a pill for 5 years because most male breast cancers are what we call estrogen receptor positive and progesterone receptor positive. That means the cancer cells can be fed by these hormones. So we prescribe this pill for 5 years.
On Friday, Innovative went pink in support of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. All the employees were encouraged to wear something pink to show their support for the fight against cancer. Innovative thanks those employees who were able to participate in the American Cancer Society awareness events on St. Croix and St. Thomas. Now, congratulations to Mrs. Lucretia Jean-Baptiste, who is the administrative assistant in the Service Center Department on St. Thomas, who was the top runner in her category. On Friday, 5 programs of the Department of Health held 3 outreach events in collaboration with the governor's office. One was held at the Louis E. Brown Housing Community for the Elderly. The mobile medical van was used in which free health screenings, blood, sugar, cholesterol, and blood pressure was given to approximately 20 of the residents. In addition, the immunization program on St. Croix collaborated with AARP and provided free flu vaccinations to over 200 residents on St. Croix in the Sunnyal parking lot. Community Health Services Program, the Zika support staff, and the immunization program, they supported Crown Bay Marina's Health Expo. Now, don't forget the return of clinical services on St. John. An open house will be held on St. John Thursday in the Franklin D. Powell Park from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's all about caring. ICMC Community Day was held on Friday. Over 130 stakeholders stepped away from the ICMC offices and spent a day volunteering simultaneously at a variety of community serving opportunities, which included the Bordeaux Agricultural Fairgrounds, assisting with the construction of a storage shed, plant nursery, prep and gardening plant, and other painting maintenance projects, Brewers Bay shoreline and tree-line beach cleanup, Brewers Bay cleanup of abandoned building in preparation for future restoration, the Mangrove Lagoon near Brewers Bay, they planted mangrove seedlings. Humane Society, they helped with animal care. Coral World assisted in the construction of the bird aviary and painting and other maintenance tasks. Job well done. 16 USVI small manufacturers promoted their products to local buyers as Enterprise Zone Commission. They hosted the second B2B event on Wednesday at the U.S. Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority. This is the second time this event was hosted by Enterprise Zone Commission, which is an entity of the USVI EDA. This event was designed exclusively to help local private sector buyers connect with 16 small manufacturers in the USVI. This also allowed the buyers to network, foster relationships, and meet one-on-one with the small manufacturers who provided product explanations and samples that were on display at the event. This activity was also held during National Manufacturing Month, which is in October. The Frederiksted Waterfront was the place to be on Friday night during the Frederiksted Food Truck Festival and Street Concert, one of the major events for Dine VI. The Department of Tourism, they held the event featuring sumptuous culinary delights for more than 10 food operators, as well as entertainment. The music of Spectrum Band, Tia, DJ Swain, and First Class Sounds was there, produced in partnership with the Frederiksted Economic Development Association. Dine VI took place at the Vern Richards Veterans Memorial Park at the Frederiksted Waterfront. And speaking of Dine VI, the USVI Department of Tourism is supporting young culinary talent during the second annual Restaurant Week with the launch of its Dine on Us charitable raffle. Restaurant Week, also known as Dine VI, takes place. It began from October 27th, continues to November 12th. And the donation for that charity, you can enter for Dine on US. The raffle is $35. Proceeds from that raffle will be contributed through a partnership with the St. Croix Foundation to students in culinary programs at Charlotte Amalie High School and Ivana Udorican High School on St. Thomas, and the St. Croix Central High School and St. Croix Educational Complex on St. Croix. The drawing will take place on November 16th, and the winner will receive $1,000 in certificates to use at various restaurants in the territory. Balter and St. Croix, Ocean 362 on St. John, and Room with a View on St. Thomas. The event includes a feast in Christiansted, a taste of 2 islands, and the Food Learn Farm to Table educational series held on each island, where students will learn how to embrace the principles of sustainable best practices and the importance of sourcing local cuisine. And we will have more on Dine VI. It was the time of the year to get spooked or be spooked, and many events were held this Halloween. Tutu Park Mall, they held a jamboree for the young ones. Right there, you're looking at pictures from the Reichel Center. They had a trick-or-trunk event for the young ones. There was a costume parade, a haunted house, and Fat Turtles in Yacht Haven Grand. They had a villains versus superheroes Halloween party. Caribbean Saloon, they had a karaoke costume contest, boat nights as well. One of the busiest spots, however, was at the 6th annual event at Doghouse Pub Halloween party. Many were dressed as their inner child's favorite hero villain. There was a costume contest at midnight. Sookaween took place at Crush Nightclub. Illusions Nightclub had their 2nd annual Freaky Friday Halloween costume party. Be sure to stick around. Your News2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.
What started off as a quiet day for the Virgin Islands became a lot more active this afternoon. Showers and thunderstorms popped up to the north and then slowly moved their way south and eastward. We're talking some pretty heavy downpours too. We need to watch out for some areas of urban flooding. Runoff on the streets may lead to some conditions that make it hard to drive. And of course, those downpours, not any fun to walk around in either. Water vapor imagery shows deep moisture here in the whites and greens spread throughout much of the northern Caribbean. Drier air very prominent there across central Florida in the southern United States. That's slowly going to drop its way south and eastward and will eventually help to push out all of this wet weather. But for tonight, showery weather, even some heavy downpours mixed in, especially early. Temperatures will stay in the upper 70s. Watch for a heavy thunderstorm at St. John's for the day tomorrow, high 86 degrees. Same thing where we're expecting the possibility for some areas of flooding. Be careful in the afternoon at St. Thomas. Temperature gets to 86 degrees with periods of rain, those showers and storms most numerous early in the day, but could intensify later in the afternoon with daytime heating. 86 degrees your high in St. Croix, and again watching for those showers and thunderstorms. Waves on the Atlantic side about 2 to 4 feet. The wind direction a little unusual, out of the south and west at 5 to 10 knots. Normally we get an east wind, that's our trade wind that we typically get those showers carried in by. 1 to 3 foot waves on the Caribbean side. The winds are a little bit stronger coming off the water, 10 to 15 knots. No official small craft advisories, but certainly in those areas of rain, you need to be careful. Could cause some very poor visibility and some briefly rough surf and gusty winds as well. Showery weather continues through Wednesday. After that, the dry air at least starts to win out a little bit, and the winds will shift around to the east. We'll get into more of our trade wind pattern through the end of the week. Temperatures really don't vary all that much, mid to upper 80s each afternoon, and overnight lows will stay in the upper 70s at night. Sandy, back to you.
Thanks for that. Time for our News2 weather picture there by Lila Abantaya of the Ricardo Richards Elementary School. And Lila says she's got sunshine on a cloudy day. Lila, thank you for that. Send us your News2 weather picture to the address on the screen. Coming up shortly, be sure to include your name, age, school, and a brief description, and then tune in to see it right here on News2. That is all for now. We'd like to thank you for joining us for all the latest. I'm Sandra Command saying we will see you next time. Have a wonderful evening.